Large all-out warfare where you can be hiding from a helicopter doing strafing runs 1 minute to flying a fighter jet trying to provide some air support to your own squad the next. Battlefield 2042's large-scale, not-too-distant future shooter is here, and it's time to find out whether it's worth your hard-earned dollary-doos. Now, before I start, it's worth noting that I'm not a huge Battlefield fan, nor am I going to break down everything in the game. This is just my general overview thoughts of Battlefield 2042 during my EA On Hands review session and playing it post-launch. Battlefield 2042 is, well, a Battlefield game set in the year 2042. If you've never played a Battlefield game before, well then let me try to help you. It's basically a first-person shooter war simulator, depending on what game mode you're playing, where you'll be capturing and holding points from the enemy team or flying a giant aircraft carrier, basically carrying in a platoon of other players so they can quickly capture a point. If you've played the recent Battlefront games, then you basically know what you're in for. Battlefront 2 now, not when it originally launched. What sets Battlefield out from Call of Duty is its large-scale battles with vehicles and proper destructible environments and levels that have weather hazards or in-game events like giant tornadoes or sandstorms. Now, it's worth noting here that Battlefield 2042 does not have a single-player component to it, so you are buying this game for the online component with randoms and friends. So, with that said, how is Battlefield 2042? Well, it's a Battlefield game. What do I mean by that? Well, it's large-scale battles, and there are some great moment-to-moment gameplay sections, where great cinematic scenes happen in front of me that weren't scripted like a Call of Duty campaign. One moment I'm flying a dropship into a city to drop players off to a capture point, and the next I'm in the snow trying to capture hard drives and escape with my squad. Now, there are three main modes here in Battlefield 2042. All-out warfare is the standard Battlefield modes with Conquest, where if you've played Battlefield or Battlefront before, you know exactly what this is. It is a giant map with multiple capture points where your army faces an enemy army in capturing points and lowering the respawn tickets of the enemy team. There's also Breakthrough, which is a bit like Rush, where the enemy team needs to defend and hold capture points while your team needs to take them with a limited amount of respawns. Now, once your team or enemy team has captured the required points, the attacking team then moves further into the map and then needs to capture more points onwards. Now, these large game modes will have up to 128 players on PC and next-gen consoles, so there is a lot going on at once. Now, for Battle Royale fans, or for those who say Halo will die without Battle Royale, then you'll probably like Hazard Zone. Now, unlike Fortnite or Warzone or traditional Battle Royale, there isn't 100 players running around here, but there's 32, each in squads. So you and 3 other friends or other randoms will be partying up in a squad to hunt down hard drives found in crashed satellites. Basically, this game mode has 8 squads roam around a all-out warfare map looking for crashed satellites and then need to extract with hard drives. Now, just like in a Battle Royale, once you've been killed, you can be revived with basically a revive card, but you don't pick up like a dead squad member's card and go to a resupply point, you basically just go to a resupply point. If everyone in your squad has been killed, well, then you've been eliminated from the game. To help combat against players who have had the best weapons from the start of the game, every player in this game mode will need to purchase weapons and abilities and upgrades with this in-game currency called Dark Market Credits, which you can earn and only earn by playing Hazard Zone. Now, these credits are used to purchase basically everything you need from weapons and equipment wise, and you get these credits from getting kills, extracting with hard drives, and just playing the game in general. Each player will have a standard assault rifle and pistol, and you can purchase sniper rifles and shotguns and basically any weapon you want with these credits. Now, once you've purchased a weapon in this game mode, it isn't permanently unlocked. It's only unlocked for that round, and that's something to note. Also worth noting too, there is a class system here in Battlefield 2042 that's more in depth than previous entries in the series. So rather than having these standard 4 or 5 classes like the medic and the engineer and the sniper, here in Battlefield 2042, Hazard Zone and all-out warfare modes, you've got specialists. Now, it's a little bit, like the characters from Overwatch, with each specialist here having a special ability of some kind. There's a specialist that can deploy portable shields, giving you or your squad some cover to get behind. A healing specialist that has a stim gun to quickly heal allies. There's a general soldier that has a grappling gun like Batman, allowing him to quickly traverse around the map on top of a load more than that. Thankfully too, you're not locked into using certain weapons for these classes. Now, the final mode, which doesn't use specialists or basically any of these new game mechanics, is called Portal Mode. Honestly, at first, when I checked out this game mode, it seemed to be a bit of a casual, crazy, fun mess. Basically, you can create your own game modes with instant respawns, with increased damage and no ammo pickup, basically turning Battlefield into Call of Duty, or you can make a rockets and knives mode where if you jump 5 times, you can reload your rocket. Now, these are some examples of the game mode that EA showed us, but what really got me and the squad I was playing with excited and loving Battlefield 2042 is the ability to play classic and well-loved game modes from previous Battlefield games. You can play Conquest in Battlefield 1942, Rush from Battlefield Bad Company 2, or Battlefield 3's Conquest mode, basically making this mode a bit of a HD remake of the greatest hits of Battlefield. I absolutely loved playing Battlefield 1942 in Battlefield 2042. There are multiple standard classes to play as, each with their own weapons available. You can run around with a Thompson or with an MP40. Yeah, there aren't as many weapons here as in, say, Call of Duty Vanguard, but the gameplay and atmosphere feels like a World War II game. And it goes to show that an extra mode in Battlefield 2042 does World War II better than a whole game dedicated to it. The rush mode in Battlefield Bad Company 2 in Portal felt great, and we've got returning maps, weapons and gameplay styles, like you can only sprint forwards, you can't actually move sideways when you're sprinting. Basically bringing the gameplay and feel back from previous Battlefield games in these modes. Now, speaking of weapons, there are a metric fuck ton of weapons here. The standard 2042 Battlefield mode have their own guns, and then there's the 1942 modes, Battlefield Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 all have their own weapons pulled from the original games on top of that. Now, you can't use World War II weapons in the 2042 mode, which is fine. We got to try a game mode called VIP Fiesta, where each player would play as a certain time era soldier, and the World War II weapons would generally get owned by modern weapons, especially at range. The modern weapons too can be customized with attachments both in the menus and in-game. Now, on PC, by holding T, this brings up your weapon a bit like Crysis, and you can customize your weapon on the fly. Now, this does come in handy if you quickly need to chuck on a scope onto your weapon so you can get some range in. Now, there are some things with 2042 that I'm just not a fan with. Now, these are my personal issues that I had with it, and they might not be your issue, and that's totally fine. For starters, the new 2042 maps themselves just aren't that great. If you're wanting great battles in a city landscape, sure, you can have them, but the city-styled maps have these huge, wide open and vulnerable areas bang smack in the middle of the map. There are skyscrapers and such which look fantastic, but they're basically around the edges of the map. The environmental or map hazards, while cool, don't get me wrong, aren't very common. During my time with the beta that I played, the rocket didn't go off on the map we were playing as, and during my review sessions as well, that EA invited me to, all we basically saw was tornadoes. Now, the weather effects look cool, and when a tornado is nearby it adds an effect to your HUD, but it doesn't really feel dangerous. There are 9 specialists here to choose from in 2042's modes, and some of them I found were pretty damn useless. Like the sniper class, I liked due to wearing a ghillie suit, but I didn't find myself using that class's drone ability. The weapons are a bit hit and miss too, and for whatever reason, there's no sniper scope adjusting, so you can't alter your scope to adjust for ranges at say 500 meters like you can in previous Battlefield games. So anytime I saw an enemy at range, I basically had to make pot shots in order to try and hit them. The Conquest mode is always large and chaotic, but my god, some rounds I found myself all I was doing was just running across a large field to be sniped from someone on the other side of the map, or to be taken out by someone using a helicopter who headshotted me with rockets. That's something to note too. If it's been a while since you've played Battlefield, or it is your first time jumping in and playing it, be prepared to be killed a lot. Now, in the review session that I was in, my entire squad was constantly getting taken out by enemy helicopters who were basically just constantly doing strafing runs. Where, say, unlike in Rainbow Six Siege where you can learn from your deaths, here in Battlefield it's not really learning from a death by not checking a corner or listening for footprints, but you'll find yourself avoiding areas due to players just patrolling the skies, or you'll be looking up at the sky the entire time to find yourself open to an attack on the ground. I think a map located in, say, like a thick Norwegian forest covered in fog would be fucking great, because that way it gives infantry more cover and shade from helicopters who can spot 4 Marines running across the sand. The other large scale mode though, Breakthrough, I wasn't a huge fan of, and it's for one simple reason. The enemy can recapture points. So Breakthrough is a little bit like the old Rush mode, where the attacking team need to capture points with limited respawns while the defending team has to defend with unlimited respawns. However, if there are 2 points that need to be captured, if your team takes 1 point, the enemy can recapture it. I personally would have preferred if the team captured a point, the enemy couldn't recapture it, and then it would focus the entire attacking or defending team's efforts into defending a point that hadn't already been taken. Where Battlefield 2042's modes might feel a bit at sometimes, that's where Portal just simply blew me away. The option to play Battlefield 1942, Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3 modes are fantastic. Being able to create your own modes and such, sure, is fine, but playing Battlefield 1942 in modern in-game graphics is fantastic, at least in my opinion, and it's interesting that a game mode which is basically an extra to the core 2042 mode is better than Call of Duty Vanguard. Now, I don't give scores on my videos, and that's for good reason, because games can get better or worse with updates as they age, and it's the same here with Battlefield. Battlefield 2042 feels like, say, a new Guns N' Roses or a new Metallica album, but it's also tied in with a greatest hits album. Its new game modes aren't bad, and they can be fun when played with friends and you're chatting shit and you're having a beer, but the greatest hits modes that they've added into Battlefield fucking slap. Being able to change attachments on the fly in 2042's modes, I think, are great. However, playing the solo while not taking the time to learn the maps, you might get frustrated with the constant running between points and having no one to talk to or coordinate attacks with. It will take some time for new players to get the hang of, and there will be a lot of dying, sure, but the moments that you, the player, make that make you feel like you're in a scripted cinematic feel, and you're not in a scripted moment, feels awesome, and nothing will beat that.